my friends. Hello, my fellow travelers. How are you? It is me, Kirsten. Hey, and this is the It's Giving Mystical podcast. Hi. I'm a little punch drunk this morning. And also, I feel like it's been forever since we've been in touch. That 5 of Pentacles week, what was it like for you? That transition from April to May. What's it been like? What was the energy shift like as you went from April 30th, my grandma's birthday, shout out, Grandma Helen, you beautiful queen, I miss you so much, and May 1st. What was that energy shift for you like for you? And moving into this month of May, we have this very interesting combination between the Hierophant, the May energy always, kind of Taurus energy, and the Death card. What an interesting combination, interesting companions those two cards are. It came up in Women's Circle, or maybe it was the full moon circle around Scorpio. Yes, obviously, because there was so much talk about death and rebirth. Life is life because death rides right by us. And we do live a little bit in a bubble, denying the fact that we're all headed for the same place. And that sounds like kind of a morbid, maybe even depressing thought when you first say it or when you first take it in. But there's a truth to it that's really important to acknowledge. And if you ever notice, when you come close to death, right, when you come close to sickness, or you have loss, or there's grief, or there's transition, or there's things that leave your life, you realize just how tender and precious it is. You realize how tender and precious it all is. I don't know if I've ever said this to you guys, but David Deida has some really interesting things to say about masculine and feminine energy, obviously. But I love the way he talks about children, and he talks about this idea that the masculine energy in all children, which they don't have a lot of, right? Because masculinity is centeredness and stillness, and as you know, children are inherently, or maybe you don't know this, but it's true, are inherently quote-unquote feminine beings, meaning that they're very unbounded, and part of the job of a parent, so whether you're mothering or fathering, you're taking on the masculine role of creating containership for a child. And why I believe that children actually like to hear the word no, they like boundaries and structure, even if they can be uncomfortable, and even if you have to be flexible and interesting about the way you structure those boundaries so that they feel really loving and not oppressive, is because there's a feminine boundlessness to a child's energy. But the masculine energy that lives in children is, David Deida talks about this idea that that's the part of a child, particularly a little boy, if you've ever been around that, but I know little girls who are like this too, where they want to race to the edge of everything. So they want to feel as close as they can this tension, this actuality, this reality of death. So they like to race things really fast, and they like to play war games, and they like to brush up against the edge of this. You could probably have a really interesting philosophical, psychological conversation around why we send young men into the military. What does it mean that men at that age, where they're first developing kind of their masculine strength, their masculine core, we send them off to war? Why do we do that? But the point is that this companionship of the Hierophant, what is sacred in our lives, what bridges us to the sacred, what helps us feel connected to source energy, to God, to goddess, to the divine, to nature, to Pachamama. Whatever mediums help us make that connection. When I teach tarot, I call a Hierophant the bridge. So it's not about the Pope, it's about the linking, the connection, the bridging from something that might feel mundane or something that might feel material into something that feels sacred. And like I've said before, in Tantra, there's a weaving together, right? We're talking about the sacred and the material. Nothing is not sacred. But most of us aren't raised in that type of environment. Most of us don't have that kind of dialogue from when we were little. And so the Hierophant, the Pope, quote unquote the Pope, is that connection, that bridge between the material world and the spiritual world. This 8 years all about this better integration of our power, which is the better integration of our material and our spiritual beings, of our physical and our ethereal beings. The more integrated and woven together and supportive of each other those energies are, the more powerful we become in this world, in this incarnation. So when you have a card like the Hierophant coming in, where it's like, what is that bridge like? How are you bridging the material and the spiritual? But you're nesting that in a year of how do you integrate the material and the spiritual. And then the universe is going to throw that death card on the pile, like, don't forget this. There's something very interesting about what's dying away in terms of separation. what's dying away in terms of what keeps you separate. And that can be behaviors, practices, beliefs, stories, habits. I mean, it can be so many things. It probably has to do with what you believe to be true and how those stories, when they, I almost said shatter, but maybe it's shatter, maybe it's restructure, maybe it's shift, maybe it's evolve. You might have a new idea now of what is sacred to you. You might have a new idea now of what about you is sacred. That's going to be with us in May. When the death card shows up for us in any monthly energy, you really want to think about what's dying away. You can relax around that. I know that maybe the idea of death is not relaxing, but if we believe that the king is dead, long live the king, the Ouroboros, the snake eating its tail, the idea in physics that nothing, no energy is created, right? Everything just transformed. Nothing dies, nothing new comes. It just changes form. That's, a mystical idea and a scientific idea. Those two things come together in terms of everything is just constantly evolving, constantly unfolding, constantly transitioning. So the death card is not about endings. The death card is about transitions. The beautiful thing of the death card, and again, I'm like Scorpio through and through, so like I might be biased. You might be like, what are you talking about? This is not fun. But I love the death card because it's inevitable. It's like there's a sense of determinism, a sense of it's not under your control. And while that might feel scary in some ways, it's also really liberating in other ways. So this idea that death is something that comes to pull away the dry skin, pull away the dry husk, and reveal something new to us. I'm very attuned to the fact that that seems to be happening on this interesting level where it's not quite a mental and it's not quite material, it's more of an experiential. So what's your experiential sensation around your story, around your persona, around how you are in the world, around what is sacred to you, around what you're devoted to, around who you see yourself to be in space, and how you are reflected or not reflected in the spaces around you, meaning people, relationships, literally spaces, literally physical spaces. So there's just this interesting evolution happening, and that again is with the death card. Death is not a personification of dying, it is the representation of transformation. So the way I call the Hierophant card the bridge when I teach it, I call the death card transformation when I teach it. There's something about the shifting. And wrapped in this number 5, again, we talked about that last week. 5 as the Hierophant, but 5 as an energetic is change, challenge, freedom, conflict, creativity. All of that is coming in around this death card, and I just have the sensation that I can't say it's going to be easy, but can I say it's going to be real? Yes. Can I say it's going to bring you closer to yourself? Yes. Can I say that it's going to ground you more deeply in who you are and why you've come? 100%. And there's going to be some recognition that that is all right, that is sacred and right. Materially, it might be uncomfortable, like I just said. It doesn't mean that we don't shed tears when things change. It is normal to have grief around things changing when they're changing for the better, changing for the worse, when they're just changing. Friendships, relationships, experiences, phases of life. Change is, like I said, liberating, constant, and can be hard. So whatever this looks like for you in your world, do what you need. I wrap my arms around you. I wrap love around you. I hope you feel more rooted in Pachamama's love for you, in the universe's love for you, in your own love for yourself. So wherever the world is taking you, I hope that you are holding yourself with great kindness and great gentleness through that. And I know that there's a transformation happening here that's right on time. That is just kind of like a little quick talk on how the Hierophant and death might be showing up for you this month, and we can talk more about that, and maybe we will. But for now, I want to just cut us to the card of the week, because the card that I pulled for us this week is the Emperor card. I just like that. I like that after this Emperor month in April, there's something about this first week of May that is showing you quite clearly what's changed, showing you quite clearly who you are now. It doesn't make it easy. It doesn't mean it's easy. But is it true? Is it present? Is it here with you now? Yeah, it is. And there's something about the Emperor that helps you trust who you are and what your domain is and what your boundary line is and why you're doing the things you're doing and what is your business after all. That is going to get really clarified in this week ahead. I think that's a good thing. I think that's a stabilizing thing. The Emperor is always a stabilizing energy. 4s are always bringing us structure. And something about this Emperor is a reminder of it's up to you. A reminder of the fact that at the end of your days, when you kind of get called to review what's happened, if you're lucky enough to live 100 years and look back on your life, the person you're going to be accountable to is you. So other people might have opinions. You might wish you had done things differently. You might ache for the ways you were out of integrity. You might have ways that it's hard to forgive yourself for things that happened. But if you keep that true north of, am I doing what's true for me? Am I honoring what's true for me? And I mean like a deep capital T true, then that's what you're held accountable for. Like that's the way you'll be held accountable. Is did you do right by you in a deep and full way? And the Emperor is the card of knowing the importance of that, knowing that as I tend to my own heart, to my own momentum, to my own unfolding, to my own integrity, my own fullness, wholeness, completeness, steadiness, that I then set a safe place for the world to be in reaction to me, that I like feed into the grid this sense of I can handle myself. Like I am trustable. I am trustable with myself, and therefore I am trustable with you. And that comes down to not looking away when there's something that needs to be seen. Being willing to really see ourselves as clearly as possible. And knowing that that's not a place to arrive at. You don't get one day, you're like, well, now I see it all. That's not the human experience. We are so dynamic, right? We're so fluid and dynamic, and really trying our best to survive in a world that is also kind of training us in a conditioning reactive way. And so there's there's just so much smoke and mirrors in the human experience. So it's not like we arrive at this place where we're like, now I see clearly, aha, I've arrived. But do we kind of gesture towards fullness, towards a type of inner peace and safety that is a gift and a balm in the world? Yeah, we do. I hope we do. I do. I'm working on it. Am I doing it perfectly? 100% not. There's always room for reflection. There's always room for patience with yourself, for taking that deep breath, for giving yourself a minute to have that initial reaction, reactivity to something, and then to stay with it. Permission to not take things personally. That permission to become more impeccable with your word. Like think about the 4 agreements. And so while that's always an ongoing gesture towards an ongoing investigation, does it create more fullness as you explore into it? Yes. And does that feel good? Yes. And that is really at its heart the energy of the Emperor. So in this week ahead, you might notice that some ways that the cookie crumbled in April leads you to this realization that you are different now, that your domain is different now, that what is your business is different now. And that actually might feel really good. I don't know, maybe it's going to be unsettling, but I don't think so. There's something about this that feels very still and steady and right. Like you're going to have this sense I'm in the right place at the right time. And if you're not in the right place at the right time, there's going to be this sense of like, I can handle myself in this place. And then that kind of like paradoxically makes it that you're in the right place at the right time. You will discover, I imagine this week, a way that you are trustable or that you can stay with yourself that might be new or might be like a new flavor or texture of that. That's going to feel really good, revealing to yourself just how trustable you are. Life is so beautiful, so exciting. I don't know where you guys are, but springtime here, I have these azaleas, these white azaleas, and they are just like look like brides' dresses, like wedding dresses. They're just coats of dripping white, and they're so beautiful. I hope there's something in your world that's just pleasing you right now. I hope you can look around and say, yes, I am pleased to be human. I am pleased to be here. I am grateful for the chance to become a more trustable, kind companion to myself. What does that do to the world? What kind of service does that offer the world? To be able to sit with yourself and all of the disparate, chaotic sensations of being a human and be okay with that. Be kind to yourself through that. Know that that's your business and it's okay if that's all you got. It's just the room to be with your business right now. It's surprising how much more peaceful the world would be if everyone actually stayed where they needed to be, like focused on their business. Oh, we're so good at distracting ourselves. Okay, may the Emperor be with you. May they offer structure and strength to you in the week ahead. May they offer you a beautiful reflection of just how far you've come this year, how much more fully integrated you are, how much more you are deepening into your power as a human, as an incarnation in this space and time and moment and place. Hope that was helpful. Sending you so much love and a big hug, and I will talk to you soon. Check you later. It's giving everything is sacred. It's giving art. It's giving light you up and turn you on and set you free. It's giving curiosity. It's giving freedom. It's giving love. It's giving you are more magical and powerful than you can comprehend. It's giving, I don't know what's happening, but I am so here for it. It's giving you are pure potential. It's giving mystical.